Hello everyone, it's a pleasure to be here, and today I want to talk to you about how to assemble some of these most complex regions in the human genome. And to start, I really want to go just a few short years back to the time when telomere-to-telomere consortium finished the first complete version of the human genome reference, CHM13. And what's so special about this reference is that for the first time we could sequence, understand these difficult repetitive parts of the genome, including acrocentric chromosomes. The P arms of acrocentric chromosomes are full of repeats, full of satellite DNA, and that's why they resisted the analysis for so long. Despite this, they're extremely important. They participate in frequent human translocations, including Robertsonian translocations, and can have consequences such as Down syndrome. So not only they are so difficult to work with, but they're also home to ribosomal DNA. And ribosomal DNA, I would argue, represents the last frontier of human genomics. And the reason for this is that the full rDNA arrays have not been assembled yet, not even for a single human diploid individual. And the reason for this is that they're just so repetitive. So we can have hundreds of copies in the human diploid genome, and all of these copies, all of these rDNA units will be extremely similar to each other. And so that makes it extremely hard to work with. That's why also in the references like CHM13 or AG002, they will be just modeled or incomplete, or you will have flanks, but not the internal structure. And so to address these questions, we truly thought that we could get started by using MADRE from the WashU pedigree. It's a 3-generational pedigree, and we chose specifically MADRE as our goal assembly for rDNA arrays, because it has a fully assembled T2T complete human genome. We have data for all 4 individuals in the pedigree, and we also have experimental estimates of the rDNA copy number. And so what you can see in the gold is the copy number estimates for the paternal lineage, and in the purple copy number estimates for the maternal lineage. So what you will notice is that some of these chromosomes have extreme copy number, more than 110 copies of rDNA units. What you will also notice that in this case, 2 of the arrays are super tiny, just no copy or just 1 copy. And what we find interesting is that those arrays with copy number between 1 and 20 copies, we don't really see them, not even in the rest of the family. And because we have so many data available for this pedigree, we chose MADRE as our candidate for the further assembly. And to proceed, we generated huge amounts of data. So just the ribosomal DNA, we generated over 91x of the coverage. And I would like to say that half of this coverage is in reads longer than 100 kb. And this is really crucial, because if you have a repeat that is 45 kb in the length, that means that only with 100 kb reads, you can have at least 2 copies spent. So this is really crucial. In terms of data sets, we have whole genome sequences, we have adaptive sampling, and in adaptive sampling, we really enriched for ribosomal DNA, and we did this by adaptive sampling, where we depleted the unique regions of the genome, because these are the regions that are not going to be helpful. And what was really game-changing for us was the hyper-basecalling model, which is the experimental model, which allowed us to get the best assemblies, and especially to increase the quality of reads over Q25 from 31 to 46%. And so what this tells us is that when you're working with sequences with very specific nucleotide composition, the choice of your basecalling model might be important. We also generated high-throughput flow cells, which are the newest addition to the nanopore family, and we use those for validation. And I would like to point out this GitHub link. So all the data sets that I'm showing here are publicly available. You can go and download them. And we're hoping that this will motivate the community to really work on the rDNA assembly and benchmarking new tools and new methods for understanding of ribosomal DNA. So you can go ahead and try for yourself. So let's get to the results. So indeed, we were able to assemble what we believe is the longest rDNA array that includes 33 copies. This is the paternal chromosome 14. And if you look at this figure, what you will notice is that there's lots of red reads at the bottom. And so what that red means is that this array is really hypermethylated. And so that tells us that this is an inactive copy. So this array is inactive, is fully methylated. And we're able to trust these reads because we've done very stringent filtering. And if you're working with repetitive parts of the DNA and you want to be confident in your read placement, you can give it a try. So I'm also showing the link to BAM where you can filter for high confidence. So this is the longest array that we have assembled. In contrast, we also have a maternal array of the same chromosome. This array has a periodic methylation. You can see that the blue is interleaved with red. And so this tells us that this chromosome is active. And so that's why we can differentiate between active and inactive copies. So 41 and 59% of all reads exhibit active and inactive signatures. And this is also validated using methylation analysis. So we can also study the methylation transmission across the generation. And not only methylation, we can also study the copy number across generations, and we can see that that is also quite stable. So both copy number and both methylation are stable across generations. So on the y-axis here, you can see the number of rDNA units. And again, colors represent paternal in gold and maternal lineage in purple. Finally, because we are assembling these large arrays, what we can do is to take a look at their internal structure. So that means that instead of having a single reference and mapping all the reads to this reference, we can actually annotate them in a linear fashion in the same way that they would be organized on a chromosome. And so we developed a tool called Andro, which annotates internal structure of rDNA units. So it will annotate all the genes for you, tandem repeat, long repeat, butterfly repeat, the satellites, TTF1 binding, everything you could wish for, it will annotate it for you. And it's also extremely efficient and fast. So in just a few short minutes, you can annotate your full genome diploid assemblies. So we're hoping that this will also motivate rDNA analysis on scale across genomes from diverse human populations. So in the future, we hope that we convinced you that ultra-long reads from Oxford Nanopore really uniquely position this platform not only for T2T genomes, which are becoming very routine right now, but also for the resolution of highly repetitive regions, such as rDNA regions, which are really this last frontier of genomics. And not only that, for these rDNA arrays, we can understand their activity through the methylation. So the example of chromosome 14, where we assembled both maternal and paternal copy, we can differentiate between active and inactive copy. And I have also shown you that in terms of methylation and copy number, this was quite stable across the generation. And finally, we're working really hard to assemble all 10 rDNA arrays. And we're exploring many strategies for that, including hybrid error correction and so on. So hope the next London calling, all the rDNAs will be solved question, and we can move to other fun problems and challenges. So with that, I would like to really acknowledge Karen Miga from UC Santa Cruz and Santa Cruz Sequencing Technology Center for generating all the data. I'm coming here today from Masaryk University, where I would like to really acknowledge Nicole Polakova from my group, and also Ondřej Hanak, and also our wonderful collaborators, Jen Gerton, Tamara Potapova, Matthew Borchers, and finally acknowledge Hayu Cheng for the advice with the assembly. And in December, we published preprint on this topic. So if you're interested in rDNA and transgenerational inheritance, please go ahead. And with that, I would like to invite you for a collaboration, and thank you.